So this is Lance with Verivest, and today I have with me David Hughes. How are you doing, David?
Doing well, Lance. Thanks for asking. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. So David is a self-storage developer. So we're going to kind of go through some stuff here today, learn a little bit about David and his firm. So how did you end up getting into real estate?
So, quick story. My dad's a general contractor developer. He would go in and buy 5 to 10 acre tracts of land and do, semi-custom homes in Georgia. And I kind of developed a hatred for it at a very young age because he would pull me out of bed on a Saturday morning begrudgingly. But thankful that he did that later in life as I started to do my own building. I worked for some bigger commercial firm, residential firm, and then started my own company doing high-end residential about 6 years ago, and started doing the self-storage about 2 years ago.
Very good. So in terms of for you guys, when you're out looking for opportunities, where do you find the deal flow or the land? I mean, do you handle like the entitlement, or are you buying kind of land that's ready to be developed? I mean, if you could just share a little bit about how that process kind of works.
Sure. So the kind of path towards self storage as opposed to residential building was my brother who lives in Mobile, Alabama, called and said, I know you're looking to do some commercial development. What do you think about self storage? And so I started doing my research on it. This was probably the fall of 2018. And what we have experience in is going and doing the entitlement process for different commercial or residential building and hiring the architects, the engineers, the entire team to get it entitled, get it permitted, and get it ready to build. So our process is we're really focusing on secondary southern markets, and we want to try to find the areas that the big guys haven't really gone in yet because they, have higher production costs, they have higher construction costs, and we try to be the sleek ninja, so to speak, in the room to where we're doing the development and the contracting and adding a huge value creation by doing that.
Got it. So in terms of kind of those markets, what would you deem kind of secondary southern markets? So give maybe a couple examples. And
Sure. So right now we have a project that is about a month away from completion. It's a 65,000 square foot facility in downtown Mobile. It's going to be about 48,000 net rentable. There's another one that we're looking at, which is in Pensacola, Florida, and Dothan, Alabama, Huntsville, Alabama. These kind of, not an Atlanta or a Nashville or even a Jacksonville. It's more like a Tallahassee, Athens, Georgia. We look at college towns. So really just 100,000, 50,000 population of the town or the city that we're looking for is kind of what we're targeting, up to 250, if that general population range is a guide.
Got it. And then in terms of sort of your overarching, investment philosophy, or maybe as it pertains to self-storage in particular, how do you determine whether or not a site is worth building on or not? I know that there's certain metrics kind of in the self-storage game in terms of you only want X number of units per square mile or something like that, or do you kind of follow a similar philosophy, or kind of how do you do that assessment?
As soon as I kind of got involved in this, I went to Vegas to the self-storage conference and just met with a bunch of different people just to become inundated with the industry. And I was turned on to a website called Radius Plus, and you can really program in any address and it'll just give you tons of data. So the data it gives you is kind of what you touched on. Is there a need in the area? Is there storage near a said property? Is there, a lot of climate control, a lot of non-climate? What is the multiplier? Is there population growth? So we kind of look for all the things that are, normal in a sense of, is a place growing? Is there a need? Is there a demand? How many competitors are in the area? And we kind of base that assessment into an Excel model that we've built that will give a multiplier out on if this project is worth looking at. And we can kind of do that analysis in about a week's time.
Got it. And then for you guys then, when you I mean, obviously when you're going ground up in terms of, keeping the cost down and building and, so like, how do you ensure that you sort of have that ability to generate, value in the project? And I mean, obviously there's two phases, I suppose, it's just, getting it built on time, on budget. And then also, once you've got C of O, how do you ensure that, that you fill those units up as fast as you can at the, the best sort of monthly rates? Maybe you can speak to kind of how you approach that.
Sure. On the development end, we take a lot of the legwork away from an architect or an engineer having to actually walk it through a planning or permitting. My brother, who is locally based in Mobile, enjoys that process actually, and will take any drawing, and that allows us to take money out of the architect or engineer's proposal, and that's our own sweat equity, and that's how we walk all those permits and everything through so successfully. We also, in the building phase, we've done this for my brother's 10 years older than me. I'm 41, just to give a little analysis on my age. I don't want to give too much away, but I've been doing it for close to 20. And we know where all the bodies are buried. It's a term we use. We know where the concrete guy makes his markup. I know where the roofing salesperson makes his markup. And we buy a lot of things direct. We'll buy concrete direct. We'll buy rebar direct. So we're really cutting out 2 and 3 markups per trade. And that's allowed us to get the cost of construction down significantly. Mm-hmm. We built a Class A historical all brick building in Mobile for a little above $70 a square foot. And when I shared that with a rep from Public Storage, he was dumbfounded that we were able to put all these high-end amenities into a building and build it for that cheap. So it's not that we're building a cheap building, but we are getting the best price that we can on what we know how to do best, which is build and cut out costs.
So like in the case of that brick building, is there some sort of like design review that like spec that? Like, is that what you had to have brick, or how does that work?
So the project is in downtown Mobile, very historical area. This happened to be an opportunity zone, which made it even a better deal. And we went to the planning commission, and we coming from a high-end residential background, I didn't want to do a stucco box, and we try to shy away from just your average stucco box. If we have to do something other than brick, it would have been a metal panel or something modern. We want a nice looking facility. And they said, to do this project, you're gonna have to do all 4 sides brick. And so we had to add extra steel windows to give it almost a warehouse look. If you're familiar with the South, it's kind of an older red Southern brick that many warehouses use in the area, that they said, if you want to do this project, this is the guidelines that you have to follow. So that was why the brick was chosen for that particular property.
Got it. So, with, you've mentioned kind of your brother and the team of people you have, but maybe you can speak to some of the other key players that are involved in sort of, doing these developments, and that, just kind of speak to those and how those individuals help you kind of execute, your strategy. And
yeah, absolutely. So my brother is really the boots on the ground. He handles the on-site building, management of the architect team, and pushing the schedule to completion. I am working on the development side and build side on some more of the project management with someone in my office. Her name is Dorian Yohei, who's I've actually worked with for close to 15 years now. And she is just the quintessential project management, subcontract insurances, checks every box when it comes to watching our backs. So she's kind of the backstop for ensuring that the bills or invoices go out and get collected on time, calls everyone to ensure that they have the proper insurances in place. So that goes with the development side and the building side. I'm also working with the third-party management company because we do know how to develop and we do know how to build. I don't know much about property management, and I know a little bit, and I'm trying to learn more about it, but I leave that to the professionals, which is why, we reach out to some of the bigger StoreQuest, CubeSmarts to manage our building and lease everything up, just because of their really their brand presence and their online presence and their social media presence, we feel will be the best fit to, really fill our stores up.
Yeah, because most of yours, how many units on average with these projects?
400 to 550. Yeah.
They're pretty big facilities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thanks so much. Yeah, it was great to get to know you, and yeah, have a great day.
Yeah. Thanks, Lance. This is great. Appreciate it.
Yeah, take care, David. Bye.
Yeah.